Welcome back to another Purpose Served podcast, everybody. Back with another one for you guys. If you're new to this podcast is simply about inspiring you to be the best version of yourself that you could possibly be through innovating and improving the human experience. And also, a very important thing is honoring the two greatest commandments, which is to love the Lord your God with all your might and also to love your neighbor as you love yourself. The reason why I've been saying that as a lot as of late is simply for the fact that we're not getting a whole lot of that going around with people loving their neighbor as they love themselves. And the root of it is stemming from people not loving themselves. And I don't mean take disrespect from people or anything, but have capacity to love yourself. And that love is going to inspire you to do great things. Have capacity to have love for God. And that will give you the strength to press on through any and all things that come your way. So, this is very interesting. This is me re-recording this podcast episode. The other one that I had that was in the vault for high key the last 2 weeks. I realized when I was uploading this because I was going to have it go live this Friday, the day after Christmas. And it was only 5 minutes and 56 seconds that I was recorded, the first 5 minutes. And I'm like, yo, thank God I didn't put this up. Man, so now here we go. Start from scratch. And the one thing that I wanted to talk about today, the main thing that I wanted to talk about today is the 5-step P.O.A, the 5-step plan of action, which I promised you guys, and how important having goals in your life is. Before we get into that, it's very important for you guys to know that there's a difference between the purpose that you have in life and the goals that you have in life. I've been putting a great emphasis for you guys to know that purpose comes from inside of you. And the service that you partake in is going to come from outside of you. And the thing in between, which we are going to talk about today, are goals. Why is that the thing in between? That is the thing in between because it connects what's unseen to what's seen. It connects what's invisible to what's visible. Goals are a means for your vision that you have inside of you. The thoughts and feelings that you have inside of you to come to a point in the outside world. Take a look around in your outside world. Look at the cars that's driving. Look at the houses that's being built. Look at anything inside of your room. Those at one point was an idea in somebody's head that they had to struggle to bring out into the world. And to me, that is so freaking fascinating, man. And the simple question that started this series off, ever since we started talking about the monad, which is a single unit, is how do you go from ideas to results? That's been a question I've been asking myself for over the last 3 to 4 years. How do you go from ideas to results? And any act of creation by human beings is going from ideas to results. That was the process. On the last podcast episode, we talked about the 4 stages of intention, I believe. And that being the creation stage, the behavior stage, or the preparation stage, the behavior stage, and the setting stage. Bring your idea full circle. And today, I want to put an emphasis on goals being associated with the triangle that we said when, like, symbolically looking at shapes when it comes to purpose, service, and goals. And the reason why goals for me represents that shape of a triangle is because at the top of a triangle, um, you got to come to a point. And at the bottom of the triangle, you got 2 points that's opposing each other with like a baseline in between. So it had to be grounded in something. The definition of goals is the result or achievement towards which effort is directed, aim, and end. For you to bring out your vision that you have for yourself, especially in what sort of context that it is going to be a struggle, like I said. And you're going to, if it's the right goal, you're going to end up pushing yourself. There are such things as lofty goals where they're too high and they are going to be impossible for you to achieve. I realized that in my own personal life. But then after that, there are goals that's high enough that you are just going to be able to get over the hump, which I also experienced in my life as well. That brought me to this point, to be quite honest. And ain't nothing like that struggle, man. Seriously. Ain't nothing like that struggle. But there are limitations when, like I said, it comes to goals. And most people, I can't say most, but there's a possibility that when you get to the end of the road of achieving your goal, that you can feel empty and feel like the purpose in your life has disappeared once you come to accomplish that goal. Or you could feel less than yourself from identifying your purpose with your goals if you keep failing at the goals that you set out for yourself and look at yourself as a failure. You must separate your purpose from your goals. I wrote this to myself a couple of weeks ago, literally the day I recorded the podcast episode that we are doing right now, before everything got kind of messed up, and I wanted to read it to you guys. So this one just simply say 5-step P.O.A. I write a lot of stuff to myself, and remember, P.O.A. is the acronym for Plan of Action. When applying a 5-step plan of action, it is important to know its limitations. The application of this process is only useful for practical means, specifically for skill enhancement / development, which can possibly lead to a more orderly personal world. Even though the goal may be accomplished in due time, I encourage one to not confuse the achievement of goals or failure of its attainment with one's purpose. Goals are simply a form of expression that connects what's unseen to something that can be recognized in one's outer life. Do not confuse what purpose and goals are. This leaves one empty and void when the achievement in outer things is acquired. When these simple steps and methods, one can be grounded in an act of service through a function that is a more specific version of a form. Through this method, one can see in their inner life the birthplace of their purpose and know that purpose for all living things is innate, and that the universe, even though physical, has qualities that are unseen to the human senses, which ultimately point to spiritual qualities. Giving yourself to outer events and things solely will leave your spiritual life barren if it is neglected. Bringing your spirit to the physical world will bring order to your soul, which will help align your body to your purpose. Use the 5-step plan of action to bring your idea to results as a way to test it out, but don't use it to discover the purpose and or reason for why you exist. Let life teach you that through living according to the spirit of truth, which operate in all things natural and harmonious, that ultimately lead to unity. Simple observation of the natural world will show you such things. The 5-step plan of action is helpful for skill acquisition and development when you are looking for a direction, and also productivity. When you look at the life of celebrities, when you look at the life of influencers and stuff like that, you can see that due to the fact that you acquire like outer things, goals, money, and stuff like that, this can be a hindrance to you if you pay close attention and you're spiritually attuned. You can see that a decent amount of them are suffering. The lens that it gets looked through is through mental health. That is on a rapid decline right now. Depression is rising. Anxiety is rising. Anguish is rising. And we are starting to live in a state of despondency as a whole, which is loss of hope. That is one of the passions of the world. And head of all the passions is pride. We've become extremely prideful in outer events and things, which shows our lack of development within our personal world, within our soul, and within our spirit. So it taints it, and it leaves it empty and void for strictly darkness to take over. So keep the 5-step plan of action in the context of simple skill acquisition and skill development, but don't confuse your goals with your purpose in life. Because there is a clear distinction between who you are and what you have to do. And if you know truly who you are, then it makes what you have to do that much more harmonious. It's still going to be a struggle regardless. But if you don't know who you are, it's going to be a crazy inward battle for you. We're trying to figure that out through what you're doing. And if you use the means of, I want to acquire a whole bunch of wealth and fame and success, you're not going to know what your true purpose is, even if you do acquire it. It's going to make the devils that much more crazy. And I'm talking about what I just mentioned before with the mental health crisis of depression and all of that stuff. All that crap. And I'm not saying that that's not important. It's just how you look at these things, man. And I'm going to get back to that because that's like a very important point. But I'm going to talk about the 5-step plan of action, because having practical means for accomplishing what you are trying to accomplish is extremely important, rather than it being left at you just got to have a positive mindset. You got to like have affirmations and stuff like that. But what can you possibly do to make things happen? What can you do? So, the 5-step plan of action is this. Number 1, you have to create a goal for yourself and give yourself a sense of direction. Number 2, you have to create a plan for that goal, so you are prepared to achieve this goal. Number 3, you have to find the setting for your goal. Where must this goal take place at? And number 4, which is one of the most important ones out of all of them. The first 3 is pretty easy. The 4th and the 5th one are the tough ones. The 4th is the toughest, and you have to take action. And the 5th one is you have to adjust if need be. So if you fail at the goal and it's something that you really trying to do, simply adjust. But you have to take action. You have to put the plan that you created into action. If not, none of it means nothing. It don't matter, like I said, if you got a freaking positive mindset, you can be thinking positive all day. It's just you're deceiving yourself, ultimately speaking. You are deceiving yourself. And there's two things that I also want to point out. And I got this from Think and Grow Rich, honestly. Talking about like law of attraction and stuff like that, but this had like some good points in it. By Napoleon Hill. But you have to have, when it comes to the goals that you set out for yourself, it's very important to have quality and quantity. How well can you deliver on your goal to the highest of your ability, and how often can you do that? And I want to read to you guys exactly what it says in that book. Give me 1 second. I got to find it. Y'all know how I go. So I found it. So in the chapter, I believe, is organized planning, which is the six step towards riches. Chapter 7. There is a QQS formula. And a QQS stands for quantity, quality, and service. So in this section of the chapter, it is titled, "What is your QQS rating?" The causes of success in marketing services effectively and permanently have been clearly described. Unless those causes are studied, analyzed, understood, and applied, no man can market his services effectively and permanently. Every person must be his own salesman of personal services. The quality and the quantity of service rendered and the spirit in which it is rendered determine to a large extent the price and duration of employment. All right, I'm stopping reading. So the S is for spirit, not service, but spirit. I'm wrong in that regard. So the QQS is quantity, quality, and spirit. Forgive me. I'm about to continue on reading. To market personal services effectively, which means a permanent market at a satisfactory price under pleasant conditions, one must adopt and follow the QQS formula, which means the quality plus quantity plus the proper spirit of cooperation equals perfect salesmanship of service. Remember the QQS formula, but do more. Apply it as a habit. Let us analyze the formula to make sure we understand exactly what it means. Number 1, quality of service shall be constructed to mean the performance of every detail in connection with your position in the most efficient manner possible, with the object of greater efficiency always in mind. Number 2, quantity. Quantity of service shall be understood to mean the habit of rendering all the service of which you are capable at all times, with the purpose of increasing the amount of service rendered as greater skill is developed through practice and experience. Emphasis is again placed on the word habit. Number 3, spirit of service shall be constructed to mean the habit of agreeable, harmonious conduct, which will induce cooperation from associates and fellow employees. So this is strictly talking about services and for business and acquiring wealth and all of that. But you can apply this to skill acquisition and skill development for a hobby that you partake in. And if you really get good at it, you could turn the hobby that you have into a skill. And well, not the hobby, into a not a skill, but into a service. I apologize. Forgive me. And by you turning the hobby that you have into a service, you can get paid for what you do. but don't have that be the primary goal. It helps along the way, but goals can help you create discipline. It can help you create fortitude within yourself to stay on track no matter what. Stay on track no matter what. And internally, this helps out with your purpose, because your purpose is based off of your character. Your goals isn't based off of your character. Your goals is an expression of who you are as a person. And you see this with anybody in life. No matter what, all living creatures and all living organisms have goals to maintain, survive, and thrive in this universe. They do. It's going back to the definition of goals, the result or achievement towards which effort is directed, aim, and end. Your action has to be put towards a goal in order for a goal to be what a goal is. Just because it stays in your head or you talk about it all the time, that don't mean anything. It don't. You have to put your goal in the fire and test it out. You have to go through the process of trial and error. And either way, at the base of this triangle, remember, the goals is going to represent triangles. It's going to represent whether you succeed or you fail. At the end of the day, it is what it is. So, this brings me to something else. We didn't talk about this within the last 2 episodes, but I think it's important for me to bring it up now. The 3 things: purpose, goals, and service. Purpose, remember, is internal. Goals represents the in-between of what's internal and external. And the service, it represents what's external. And there's 3 problems that comes with purpose, service, and goals. And it boils down to one word: problems. Purpose has the problem of why. Goals has the problem of what. And services has the problem of how. Purpose: why am I doing this? What is the reasoning behind it? Goals: what must I do to bring the purpose out? Service: how can I do this? How can I do this? And right now we're focusing on the what problem for goals. And in the context of skill enhancement, there's a formula that I have in regards to this. And your goals is based off of the type of things that you practice in order to bring it out. That's going to decide the outcome. And your outcome is based off of the choices that you make. I realized this in basketball, bringing it back to basketball. But I realized this in basketball. When I train kids now, the one thing that I can clearly see is lack of preparation. And you can give them the formula of how to get it done, but then it's based on them. Are they going to make the choices to do what they have to do to get it done? How bad do they really want it? Do they focus on attention to detail? And going to the QQS formula, that was a part of it. And when I used to practice, that was the main thing that I focused on. I focused on efficiency. I had a goal in mind, And I was going to do the best that I can to bring that out. And I used to shoot hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shots a day, literally. And I used to log them down. I got a basketball notebook where I would keep track of the shots that I'm supposed to do every day, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. And then after that, on another day, on that sixth day, I would just mix it up. And one of them days had to be for rest. And I would work out 3 times a day. And I mimicked this regimen off of Kobe, who used to do 2, 2, and 2. So working out 6 hours a day. I would try to get anywhere between 150 to 300 makes in each session. Which at first it seemed like a lot, but once I started breaking it down to a science, it wasn't that difficult. It was a matter of was I going to go to the gym? Was I going to make that decision to actually do it? And was I going to finish and not sell myself short and be like, oh, I tried, I'm not feeling it today. There was days when I did not feel like going in. There were mornings where I didn't feel like waking up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock to be in the gym at 5:30. Or waking up at 5 o'clock to be in the gym at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I went anyway. Because there was something that I was going for. And it started shaping and molding my character. And along the process, I had a lot of ups and I had a lot of downs. There were so many situations that didn't work in my favor. And it wasn't even about that for me. At first, it started off like that for me, where I was chasing external things, and it left me personally lost and confused. If you listen to the things that I talked about, in times past, you will get a feel for that. But now I'm in a position where I'm paying it forward, and I know what it takes to succeed. And I'm doing the best that I can to get the people that's under me and the kids that's under me who had the same vision as me when I was their age, how to shape that and literally what it takes. And what it takes is you ultimately pushing yourself. Goals are going to force you into a point. Goals are going to show you if you really want something really bad. And goals can reveal your purpose to you if you're looking from an inward sense. But if you keep focusing on what's external, the goals that you have won't reveal your purpose to you. But going back to the skill enhancement formula, the practices that you have is going to decide your outcome. Your outcome is decided by your choices. And if you keep making the right choices, you're going to improve the form that you are partaking in. There's like so much that when I be like looking at what's in front of me, I kind of got like notes in front of me and bullet points, but I think in the last episode, I believe, in 111, we was talking about forms and functions. I hope I covered it. I really sometimes don't even be like looking back and listening to the things that I'll be saying. I gotta like start doing that, but forms and functions. Form, I'll boil you down to 6 things. And there's more out there, but this is a general 6. And that being art, fitness, education, community, environment, and wellness. In regards to basketball falls under the form fitness. And the function for fitness within this is sports, basketball. And within this, like I said, you develop a fine point thing, and this fine tunes the goal, and this makes you unique within something so broad and something so abstract. But you being here and existing is the proof of the uniqueness itself. And you don't need external validation to show that. You being who you are is automatically going to show that. It's automatically going to show that. That's why I put an emphasis on saying all things that are living have an innate purpose that gets expressed outwardly, but it comes from deep down within first and foremost. And I find that amazing. I genuinely find that amazing. So we're going to start winding down here. Just to reiterate the point, the 5-step plan of action is: first, create a goal for yourself. Give yourself a direction. 2, create a plan for the goal so you are prepared. 3, find a setter for your goal. Your goal is going to take place somewhere, whether that's in your room, whether that's outside or a location, but know where the goal take place. 4, take action to go in the direction of your goal. And 5, adjust if need be, and be prepared for detours along the way, because it's not going to be a smooth sailing ride. It's not. And also, to keep this in the context, this is simply for skill development and skill acquisition. To get good at something. And the most important thing out of all of these 5 is just taking action. And this also goes along with the 4 stages of intention. And the 4 stages of intention, yet again, is the creation stage, which is the first, which is associated with that first step of creating a goal. And the second stage out of the 4 of intentions is the preparation stage, which is the create a plan. The 4th stage of the stages of intention is the setting, which associates with the 3rd step, which is the find the setting. The 3rd stage of intention is behavior, which is associated with taking action, which is the 4th step to the 5-step plan of action. And the 5th one is adjust, and you keep going until you accomplish the goal. There's always goals that need to be accomplished, but don't confuse your goals with your purpose. There's simply an outlet for you to express your purpose out into the world, but the goal itself ain't the purpose itself. They're 2 distinct things. I spoke of the 3 degrees of knowledge by St. Isaac the Syrian from the ascetic homilies. The 52nd homily specifically, where it talks about the 1st degree being of the body, the 2nd degree being of the soul, and the 3rd degree being of the spirit. This is the purpose, goals, and service is analogous to the purpose, to the spirit, soul, and body. Purpose is associated with spirit. Goals is associated with the soul, and the service that you partake in and is associated with the body. And I spoke of this on the Monad podcast episode. Because purpose is internal, spirit is very, very internal. Our soul is what is in between the spirit and the body. And what's in our soul, we carry out within our body. And you got to make sure that within your soul that you're focused on the importance of spiritual manners and the spirit of truth so you could carry that out. Because having your goals is naturally going to be directed when it comes to skill development towards outer life. But that's why I wanted to put this into some sort of context. But it's very important that you live from the spirit of truth. That's the main reason why I make this distinction. Because by you focusing on your goals as if that's your whole entire life, you could be blinded to the truth of the matter and your true purpose, which happens more often than not if you pay attention and work on the side of good instead of doing evil in the world. And I speak all the time about the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is a spiritual place. And that spiritual place is to be found within you. And your soul has to be directed towards spiritual matters in order to notice. Because if it's focused on the body, it will be blinded to the light of truth and focused on darkness. And that's the balance that we're going through in this transitory state of living in an imperfect world and living in a fallen state. We must rise above it, and we're not going to rise above it by acquiring wealth and by acquiring things of this world as much as we can, because ultimately it's going to wither away in the end. But solidify your spirit. That's not going to wither away. And connect your soul with your spirit for you to have your body move harmoniously through life. And this is why I created the twofold system. Well, not necessarily created. It was an act of discovery, to be quite honest. And I named it Bifarious Systema, or Systema Bifarious, which is pretty much Latin for saying twofold system. I just didn't want to call it twofold system. I wanted it to sound cooler, honestly. I wanted it to sound cooler. But this twofold system is based off of balancing what's in the natural world, anything that came before human existence, that we objectively live in our personal world, which is highly subjective. And it relates to every individual, but we share that as a whole collectively. And that single unit between the natural world and the personal world is what I see in the monad. And the monad for me represents all of creation, spiritual and physical, and one thing that God created, that everything emanates out of. And God stands outside of the monad. And that monad also is the light as well. A lot of things that the Son of God, Jesus Christ, talks about relates to that, with all things being one and united. And we must develop that lens and know that all things are good through God. And there's a higher plan to it all. And you have a choice. It's not like you forced to think like that or feel that way. You have a choice to think and feel and do and be whatever you want. We're not forced to do anything. But free yourselves from the enslavement of the passions of this world. Free yourself from the vices of this world. And treat what's practical. Treat what's spiritual. And think light about yourself. This world is nuts. And it's easy to lose yourself. It's super easy to lose yourself. In the next podcast episode, We're going to be talking about duality. And through this duality, we're going to be talking about the service, the base of everything, the physical existence itself. But today I wanted to talk about goals, that bullseye and that aim, which is essential to purpose served, and it's even within the logo. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you want to know that you served your purpose here in this lifetime before you transition over to the next one. Love you all. I hope you guys enjoyed and honor the two greatest commandments and continue to serve your purpose. Last but not least, deuces!